the foundation of Buddhism is two truths. Foundation. When we say foundation of Buddhism is two truths, means foundation of Buddhism is basically law of nature, as it is. Now, when you look at the law of nature, it's of two types, right? We call it law of nature or truth. It's of two types. One, relative truth, another, absolute truth. Or sometimes we call it conventional truth and ultimate truth. Now, conventional truth means in the world of the conventional truth, it's very attractive. There's so many varieties, people, tree, houses, yellow, black, white. That's conventional truth. That's the world which we relate every day, conventional truth. And we basically take it for granted. This is the truth. That's it. Ordinary people don't even talk about ultimate truth, right? Because ultimate truth is more like a conception, abstract truth. So you don't fiddle with it in your day-to-day life. So you have got completely lost with this person, that car, that building, this, that. You are only completely lost with these varieties of things that you see. That is a relative truth. So therefore, Buddha had to give this second level of teaching on the truth. See? Wow.
I can practice.
Looking nice, yeah.
Very photogenic, yes.
Yeah, Jim. Live done Jim. Ngatakin sama ngal japjor singin janjar. So ultimate truth. So therefore, what the Buddha when he is giving this, teaching on the true truth, he is basically talking about the need to understand the ultimate truth and don't just get bogged down with the relative truth. So normally we get entrapped only with the conventional truth, the worldly kind of truth. So the Buddha is saying if you get entrapped there, you will never be able to come out of samsara. In order to come out of samsara, you need to know the higher level of truth, which is the ultimate truth. So ultimate truth means, in ordinary level, when you deal with this conventional truth, everything looks like existing from its own side, right? Especially if you fancy something, you think, oh, this is so beautiful, 100% beautiful. And because of this way of seeing things, you develop attachment and get obsessed with it. Similarly, with those things which you don't like, this is not only ugly, not only horrible, but 100% horrible, 100% ugly, have nothing to do with it. So therefore you develop feeling of distantness and then develop hatred, disliking. So this is how ignorance produces attachment and hatred. So ignorance therefore means not knowing the nature of the ultimate truth. So ultimate truth is what? Emptiness. Emptiness means emptiness means not nothingness. Emptiness means empty of independent existence. Right? As I always say that when things exist, things indeed exist, right? You are existing there, I'm existing here, the table is existing here. So when things exist, there are only two ways of existence. Only two. Either they should exist dependently or they should exist independently. There cannot be a third possibility. So dependent existence, independent existence, these two are mutually exclusive. There is no third possibility. So you have to say either this or this. So therefore now my question is, do you think things exist dependently or independently? Huh? Answer. Do you think? Dependently, right? Can you come up with any one example of a phenomena which exists independently?
No.
Right? No. Right? No. Rava. So therefore, emptiness means empty of independent existence, because there is no independent existence. So sometimes I compare it with the mathematical number 0. 0 looks like having no value, but without 0 you can't have 10, you can't have 20, 100 and so forth. So 0 is very important, and 0 is also very friendly. It tells the other number, you go ahead and I'll follow you and I'll give you value. For example, it's number 1, then he says, number 1, you go, I'll follow you, I'll give you value. When it follows, then what it becomes? 10, gives a new value. So both of these two important concepts, the philosophical concept of emptiness and the mathematical concept of 0, are originated in India. Some other countries, I think, no, I don't remember, contributed towards more development of the 0 mathematical concept, but otherwise it looks like originated from India. Right? So now this understanding is important, because although in reality things do not have independent existence, but to our ordinary, uninformed, confused mind, we tend to see things as having inherent independent existence. And that is source of all the confusion. That is also source of all the sufferings and problems. That's also the source of physical illness, mental sickness, everything, as I briefly mentioned yesterday. For example, if you are somebody who has a very clear idea that all my friends, relatives, dear friends, close friends, everything has no independent existence, meaning that they have dependent existence, right? They are dependent on others, they are dependent on food, they are dependent on clothing, so many things. Because of this dependency, and especially because of this impermanent nature, they will go anytime. So, long before if you have this understanding, then you are basically mentally prepared, you see. So when you are living together, you will be nice. For example, if I am going to tomorrow, you will be a little bit nicer to me today. Right? It's really like that. Like that. It's very, very important. And therefore, much of the suffering that we experience are, due to ignorance. If you have a little bit more knowledge, many of these sufferings will be gone. Right? You are impermanent, but you think I'm permanent. If I ask you, are you permanent? You will say, I'm impermanent. Because right now you are thinking. But this is not how we live our life. This is not how we live in our daily life. In our daily life, with our unquestioning mind, we think that I will be there tomorrow. For sure I will be there tomorrow. For sure I will be there next year. And if you keep on asking this question, even to a very elderly person who may be like nearly 100 years old and very fragile, if you ask this question to this very elderly person, are you going to die? He will of course say, yes, I'm going to die. Are you going to die today? Today, maybe not. So this is what Tsongkhapa explains in his great stages of the path, that everybody has some idea that one day I will die, but the problem is everybody thinks, today I will not die. So that means tomorrow also you think like that. Next day also you think like that. That's the problem. That's the problem. So once you understand this ultimate natures like impermanence, suffering, interdependence, emptiness and so forth, really bring about big change, big revolution. And this is a very important philosophical concept which is not only taught in Buddhism, but more and more the science is also supporting this philosophy. whether you read the general theory of relativity or the relative theory of relativity or quantum physics or quantum entanglement, whatever you read, they are pointing towards that, right? And in the case of the scientists, they are developing this understanding simply because they are simply seeking knowledge. And the aim is not to remove negative emotion. Knowledge for the sake of knowledge. And one day His Holiness even said, I think the scientist who really knows the reality, probably they should have a little bit less negative emotion. Right? Because you are able to see how things are so closely interconnected. That makes a huge difference. Right? So this is really, really important. Therefore, the foundation of Buddha's teaching is true truth. Foundation. And based on this foundation of true truth, then the path, the dual path of compassion and wisdom is taught. And by following this dual path of compassion and wisdom, then you actualize the dual fruit of Dharmakaya and Rupakaya, the form body and the truth body, which basically means the Buddha's body and the Buddha's wisdom. So that is the process. Okay. Nagarjuna said the dharmas revealed by the Buddhas. Okay, when the final end, Buddhahood is achieved, an individual acquired two forms of Buddha, which I am speaking, kayas or bodies. That means the truth body and the form body. These two bodies are the effects of their practice of wisdom method, the path. The path, the duality of the path is wisdom and method. The foundation of it is true truth. Path is wisdom and method together. Wisdom and method must go together. Method, which means good heart. Good heart without knowledge, or knowledge without good heart, also leads to bondage. So they must be good, they must go together. So method and wisdom are like the two wings of the bird, without which you can't soar into the space. And their wisdom and methods are the results of the true truths which are universally valid. An understanding of dual truth is therefore very important, but it involves some difficulties. Because there are at least 4 Buddhist philosophical schools of thought. They all have different explanation of what are the true truths. And if you have time, then if you read their view, then you will be able to find, as you go to move to the higher philosophical system, you are able to notice the faults in the lower one. So the lower Buddhist schools of the thoughts and the philosophical system explained in the lower Buddhist schools of thought are like the lower steps, which will help you climb the higher steps. So don't say that the lower schools of thoughts are like useless, right? I am Madhyamika, so I don't care about the lower Buddhist schools of thought. That is wrong. Different schools of Buddhist thought hold different views concerning these truths. According to Uma Thanjurba, the Madhyamika, highest Prasangika school of Buddhism, the things we perceive through our senses are of two aspects, the perceptible and the imperceptible. Generally speaking, relative truth is concerned with the knowledge of things and of mental concepts in their perceptible aspects, as I explained already. Then even with this relative truth, even with the perceptible, aspects, then how will you perceive those objects also depends upon how good is your eyesight. If your eyesight is not good, again you will not be able to see it clearly. So there are so many explanations. Okay, and absolute truth with knowledge of their imperceptible aspects. Universal voidness and true cessation are absolute truths. All is the rest, everything is relative. An outline of the method of following Buddhism. The perfect practice of Buddhism is achieved not merely through superficial changes, for example, through leading a monastic life, which may look good, or reciting some holy books, which looks good. There is a story of a very famous teacher, Rumtemba, who is said to be the manifestation of Avalokiteshvara. And although he is said to be the manifestation of Avalokiteshvara, but he took a vow that he will always remain as a lay person, so that he is more approachable by other people. Jokingly, I told in some places that if you start a Dharma center, next you start a Dharma center, call it a Rumtemba center, and make it more accessible to ordinary people. If you are a monk, then it's a little bit less accessible. You see, there is a difference. But he is said to be the manifestation of Avalokiteshvara. And Atisha and Rumtemba, they were like not only teacher and student. Atisha was teacher and Rumtemba was student. But when they discussed Dharma, then occasionally Atisha would say, "You know everything. We are just like acting. You know everything. You are Avalokiteshvara." So there is amazing interaction between these two great masters. So the story I was still trying to tell you is this Rumtemba, great master. Once he was going around a temple, he saw a young monk, young monk reciting some prayers in the temple. And Rumtemba goes to this monk and said, "It's good that you are reciting prayers, but it is better you do Dharma practice." Then the young man thought, okay, I may be wrong, reciting may be not proper Dharma practice. Then he started meditation. Then then he started going around the temple. Rumtemba was also going around the temple. He started going around the temple. Then Rumtemba said, "It is good you are going around the temple, but it is better you do Dharma practice." Then I thought, this also seems not proper. Then he went inside and started meditation. Then the master comes and says, "Meditation is good, but it is better you do Dharma practice." So he got completely lost. He said, "Master, in all these occasions you said it's better to do Dharma practice, so I don't know how to do it. Please explain to me." Then he said, "Make your mind go to Dharma." He said two things. One, make your mind go to Dharma and give up grasping to this life. A very powerful statement. Grasping, you see. When you have the grasping, then you can't be free. Just this morning, I read a story of a man who brought a cow. The cow was tied on a rope, so the man was holding the other end of the rope and pulling the cow, right? And the cow was pulled reluctantly behind. So somebody said, "Who do you think is the one who is..." No, I don't remember. One question he asked was, "Who do you think is the owner?" Then the people there said, "Stupid question. Obviously the person is the owner." Right? Then who do you think controlling the other? Again they said, owner, the man. And then suddenly the cow pulled hard and he got freed, right? And then he started running away. And then the man started chasing the cow, right? So the story is, because the man possessed the cow, he thought that he is the owner, that he has something, but actually he is a slave to that cow. He is to chase, run after it, look after it. So similar is our relationship with our family members, our possessions. We think we own it, but we are basically a slave to all these things, right? So it is not just leading a monastic life or reciting from holy books. Whether these activities in themselves should be called religious or not is even open to question, see? open to question. For religion should be practiced in the mind. That's the difficult part. We always, even when we say I'm doing religious practice, we end up doing those things which other people can see. For example, prostration, other people can see. Going around the temple, other people can see. Reciting some mantra, other people can see. Wearing a nice looking robe, other people can see. But inside it is changing or not changing, nobody knows. Inside there may be devil. It's really, really difficult, the inside thing. Because when you talk about Dharma practice, you should do it yourself, within your mind, transforming your mind. That's the difficult part. That's the difficult part. Then even in your temple, you have this very nice looking images of Buddha, Avalokiteshvara, and so many deities, nice tangas. We call them sacred statues. How do they become sacred? You just paid some money and purchased it. It was lying lifeless in a shop, something like that. You purchase it, and at the most you put some relax in it that might make it a little bit better. And then His Holiness says, but whether these statues and tankas in that temple, whether they become holy or not, is very much dependent upon the people who work and live in that temple. If they are holy, they are practitioners, then the whole area, including image, everything, becomes holy. But otherwise, it is another statue that's available in the market, you see, right? For example, Bodh Gaya, we say very, very sacred. Why? Because Buddha practiced there, Buddha meditated there, and so many other practitioners visited that place. So that place is kind of charged. Then other places where so much killing has happened, then that place, you feel bad vibration, very bad vibration, right? So that's why I kind of jokingly, but it has some meaning, I tell people that if you practice kindness, love, and bodhicitta as much as possible, you are also becoming holy. And you can also, to some extent, maybe not like highly qualified practitioners, but you may also to some extent bless other people, or at least bless yourself. Blessing means transforming yourself into a state of magnificence. So it is through practice that you change yourself, become a better person. That means you are really blessing yourself. If you don't do this practice, you let the lamas touch your head, it's okay. It's like hugging a friend, you feel good, but not necessarily a big blessing. If one has the right mental attitude, all activities, bodily action, speech can become religious. But if one lacks the right attitude, if one does not know how to think properly, one will achieve nothing, even if one spends the whole of one's life in monasteries and in reading from the scriptures. The first essential point, therefore, is proper mental attitude, proper mental motivation. One should, if you are somebody who really wants to take seriously practice Buddhism, then one should take the three gems, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, as one's final refuge. One should take into account the loss of karma and its fruits, and one should cultivate such thoughts as will benefit other sentient beings. So once you develop this wish to do a rigorous Dharma practice, right, and many people say, can I become a Buddhist? The process of becoming a Buddhist is not like baptizing, right? The process of becoming Buddhist is, first you should study the Buddhist text properly, think carefully. Then if you think that this religion is very suitable, very good for you, then you should decide that yes, now I'm going to become a Buddhist. And if you want to remember that important kind of change, then you can also formally ask a higher teacher to give you the refuge. But it's basically your acceptance of their teaching. So at that time you take refuge, then you recite this formula, I take refuge to the Buddha, I take refuge to the Dharma, I take refuge to the Sangha. So the meaning of taking refuge is, it's in human nature. If you're hungry, you take refuge in food. That's why around 12 o'clock we all take refuge in lunch. Long, long ago when men lived in the cave, they took refuge in the cave. These days it's raining, so we take refuge in the umbrella. So it's human nature. When you have a problem, you take refuge in something else, meaning that you seek protection from something else. Right? So based on this, now when you say, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, you are basically saying, I have a problem. So what is your problem? You are not taking refuge to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha because you need money, not because you need job, not because it's raining. So what is the problem? You need to identify your problem. The reason that you take refuge to Buddha, Dharma and Sangha is that you have seen clearly the shortcomings and destructive nature of cycle of existence, the samsara. And you have seen clearly the destructive effect of negative emotions. So therefore you take refuge in Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. Just as when you are physically sick, you take refuge in the doctor, physician. Right? And not only that, even if you meet a very good doctor, but if he doesn't give you medicine, it is of no benefit. So you need to take medicine also. Now, let us say you are not only sick, but very sick. Then just a doctor and medicine is not enough. You also need somebody to take care of you. Nurses, compounders, or your friends, relatives, somebody to take care of you. So just as when you are physically very sick, you need these three. A doctor, medicine, and somebody to take care of you. Similarly, when you are mentally sick with negative emotions, you need these three. Buddha, who is like a physician, Dharma, which is like medicine, and Sangha, which is like your relatives, the compounder or nurse. Clear? This is important for you to know. Otherwise, people might say, why three? Why not more? If there are more, maybe you feel more protected. Or why not just one? Simpler. So the three, just like the example that I gave in terms of curing your physical illness. So therefore it is important to really understand the sufferings in the samsara because of negative emotions. As I started right at the beginning, and the purpose of all this study basically comes down on one thing: how to deal with the negative emotions. And in order to do that, you need to know how destructive these negative emotions. Not only in terms of they are obscuring your path to nirvana, enlightenment, but even in your simple ordinary life. How much problem you get, for example, if you have attachment. How much problem you and the society and the whole world get because of anger, because of hatred. All these killings which is happening right now. Right? Be it America and Iran, be it Ukraine and Russia, be it China and Taiwan, whatever, because of hatred, disliking each other. And in the process, so many innocent people suffer. And then attachment, because of attachment, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. We are always running after material accumulation. And from where does all these material objects that you get in the market, from where does all these material objects come from? They come from external material resources, maybe from water, maybe from forest, maybe from mineral resources, right? But when you keep on exploiting the water, exploiting the mineral resources, exploiting the tree, cutting the tree, Very soon, all these sources of your material facilities will be depleted. Because anything that is material or physical, by definition, has a limitation. So how can you make unlimited progress from limited resources? You're only killing the ecology, you're only killing the environment, and the result of which we are already seeing everywhere. Untimely rainfall, flood, tsunami, earthquake, right? And pollution, look at the pollution, amount of pollution that you see. It's really in a way horrible. We're on the path to committing a global suicide. And it goes day after day. Right? So in this way, and this kind of unchecked greed and hatred comes there because of ignorance. Because of ignorance. Because of ignorance of not knowing what you should eat, what should not eat. Because of ignorance of not knowing the limitations of material resources. Right? So therefore it's not like asking somebody just to become a Buddhist, you know. It is very much related to your life. How can we live a happy life? And then imagine in today's world, you know, because there is now morality and ethics, they are eroding everywhere, and people are just chasing the external glamorous life. And then, as if adding fuel to the fire, through the use of artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, many glamorous things are created, and people run after it all the time. And young people so much, they resort to all kind of stupid things for short term. They call it 5-minute or 10-second pleasure. 10-second pleasure. So how many young people are now getting addicted to drugs? And how many elderly people, so-called elderly people, are in corruption? Rampant. And so much so, now it is becoming like, there was a time when stealing was still there, but people really used to hesitate, you know. They have some sense that I'm doing wrong. Now cheating is open. People with a straight face cheat you in the marketplace. You are cheated all the time in the marketplace, in the hospitals, everywhere. And they are so used to with that. They'll tell you in such a way that you will be, if you are a gullible, innocent person, like I think all of us are in that category. You know, you are cheated all the time, because if you look at their face, there is no trace of any shame or if there's a need, they will even swear. I swear this is a really good one. Right? So that's why His Holiness the Dalai Lama is saying, teaching ethics in schools and universities is urgent. When he launched this social, emotional, ethical learning, he when we were writing the books, he never said that I'm the first person doing all this. He even said, don't write my name. I'm not saying I've done something good. I'm only saying we have to do something. This is urgent. Right? So the first essential point, therefore, is proper mental attitude. Proper mental attitude means you should always be ready to extend your helping hand. In order to help other people, you don't have to be a great philanthropist. You don't have to have a lot of money. If these are all there, well and good. But even otherwise, you know, if you really, forgive me to say this, if you really look around, people are really lost. Sometimes when I see coming people visiting this, that on the one hand I appreciate, okay, they are tourists, they are coming, enjoying, but sometimes I feel they are all lost people looking for something. And what are they looking for really? Just to while away the time, you know? And then even for that simple pleasure, by looking around, finding something, they have to find their way. For example, if somebody comes to the library, wanted to see something, they are coming there for the first time, they don't know where to go, what is where. So if somebody comes and says, oh, please come, I'll show you, it's just simple, small thing. And they will be happy, you see. Right, that small things you can do. So that will help other people also. That will also make you very happy. And in many cases, the help you are extending to that other person may be just few seconds. But if you don't provide that help to that other person, this person, no idea where to get this book, where to get this address. You see? It's almost an uphill task for this person. Just before coming to the class, I did that. There was somebody who was looking for the Buddhist standard systems, translated by J.B. Hawkins. So this person did not know whether this is available in English or not, things like that. So, and somebody requested that person to try to find that book, and had no idea how to find it. For me, I am very familiar with this book, so I just took that person, here, this is the book, take a photo and order it online. Right? So I'm not saying I'm great or anything, but just giving you an example how you can help other people. Right? Very important, very important. Because people are like, unfortunately, interestingly, people are really like, they can't go for big things, you know. As we are already discussing, it's so difficult to get completely transformed and become perfect and happy all the time. It takes a long time, right? So before that, they're looking for simple pleasures, you know, simple happinesses. So you help them, and they'll get it. They'll be very happy. So even the so-called grown-up people, when I see their face, I always see them almost like innocent small children. On the one hand, you know, they act like grown person, you know, different from the small kids. But actually speaking, they are also looking for simple pleasures, you see. So when you really help and talk to them, they will immediately melt down, act like small innocent children. Right? Yeah. The first essential point, therefore, is proper mental attitude. As His Holiness always says, if it is possible to help them, help them. If you can't help them, at least don't harm them. Finish. Such a great statement. And His Holiness Dalai Lama simplifies the Buddha's teaching. He says, if it is possible for you to help others, help them. If you can't help, at least don't harm. This much you can do. Such a great teaching. And then he says, if somebody asks what is Buddhist view, what is Buddhist, way of life, then you should tell them the Buddhist philosophy of Buddhist view is philosophy of interdependent origination. And the Buddhist way of life is non-violence. So this is again talking about the skillful means, the method and the wisdom. One should take the three gems, the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha are called gems because a precious jewel or gem is very costly, difficult to find, you know. So similarly, these three objects of refuge are difficult to find. And the purpose of taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma and Sangha is that you are scared of, the samsara. And in order to make sure that you don't fall back into the samsara, you need to understand the law of karma and perform the positive actions and avoid the negative karmas. One should cultivate such thoughts as will benefit other beings. See, one should see others more important than oneself. Because you may be very important, but you are just one person. The others are billion, over 8 billion. And there also His Holiness gives the example. If there is an occasion where somebody, because of certain situation, either you need to cut one finger to save the rest eye, or you need to cut the rest eye to save one finger. Which would you choose? His Holiness says, obviously, cut one in order to save an eye. But sometimes because of situation, you need to concentrate on certain people, not everybody. One journalist asked His Holiness a question. His Holiness, you are always talking about well-being of all sentient beings, but you are talking too much about the Tibetans. And then His Holiness laughed and answered by saying, again, I think he gave the example of these fingers. Out of these many fingers, if one finger is heart, I need to pay more attention to this one. Right? If religion is earnestly followed by renouncing the world, as I mentioned, as I told you, the story of the Tomtamba, make your mind go to the Dharma, give up clinging attachment to this life. So he's saying the same thing. Renouncing the world. Renouncing the world does not mean that you try to go and move on to Mars or some other place, which is not possible to do. Renouncing the world also does not mean that you leave your country, Russia, and stay in Dharamsala, or something like that. So wherever you go, so long as your mental attitude is same, it's same place, samsara, same problem. So long as you carry this negative mental attitude, wherever you go, there will be problem. When you have the right mental attitude, wherever you go, you will find friends, you will be happy, right? So renouncing basically means not throwing the objects. It's not saying don't keep money. It means remove attachment. Remove attachment. Right? There, I always tell this story of one person who was so inspired by the way of life of Milarepa, who had really renounced everything. He doesn't have any possession, completely. Hard to believe such a person existed. I started believing it because I'm a Buddhist, number one, but I started believing it when I saw the students, Tibetan practitioners of modern Milarepa. There was a great teacher, Tihor Kyurban Rinpoche, very famous teacher, who when the Chinese came, left Tibet and came into exile. And before that, when he is a great scholar, when he started to do the Geshe Lhakdor debate examination, he ran away. Because for such great practitioners, earning the name Lhakdor Geshe, this is useless. They are not attached to it. So he ran away. And then he escaped and stayed there in Dalhousie, which is very close from here, 2-3 hours from here, right, where I had my school there. So when I was there, I had this great fortune of visiting, I think, 5 of his students who were still alive at that time when I was a student there. There was I think, English women who came to meet my teacher, who is still alive. He's 96 years old now in Tebung Monastery. He became the abbot of Losiling Monastery, now the ex-throne holder of Olden Tebung Monastery. Recently I met him, 96 years old. So this, after discussion with this teacher, the teacher told these women, if you want to help, then help these practitioners. There are 5-6 practitioners who are really, really committed practitioners. So she said, okay. Then my teacher asked me to come to help do the translation. So I went there. At that time, money has a lot of value. So she was giving 100 rupees. Now nothing, right? At that time, 100 rupees something. So she was giving 100 rupees to each. All of them, I think except one, all of them refused, saying that what have I to do with this piece of paper if I die tomorrow? Then in the place where they were living, it's not a proper building or house. It's living within a pile of stones put together and with a canvas top. That's it. Nothing inside I've seen with my naked eyes. The only thing I regret is I didn't take photos. Right? So people can do that. Right?
What is the name of the Rinpoche?
Tehor Kyurpun Rinpoche. I mean, he passed away a long time back. I never met him. I met his students. They were also quite elderly when I met them. He is nicknamed as the modern Milarepa. Right? So renouncing the world. So I was telling the story, there was a person living at the time of Milarepa. So he was so inspired by the Milarepa's way of life, he said, I must become like Milarepa. And he threw everything that he possessed. Just after 1 or 2 days, he started suffering. And then he regretted that he threw away all his belongings. And he said, this Milarepa, not only he is a beggar, he also made me a beggar. So, meaning that renouncing is by the mind, not just throwing the objects away. If you have no attachment, the more the merrier. You can share it with other people. There's no problem, you see. The problem arises when we develop this attachment, clinging, obsession, you see. Obsession. If religion is earnestly followed by renouncing the earnestly, is always using the word earnestly followed by renouncing the world, the follower finds great joy. See? Just opposite way that we think. Normally, the more we have, happier we will be. That's what we think. The more money we have, the more cars we have, we think we will be happier. But here he's saying, if religion is earnestly followed by renouncing the world, the followers finds great joy. And I remember one comment made by the Buddha where he said, I have nothing, therefore I am very happy. I have nothing, therefore I am very happy. Because if you have nothing, then you are basically just with yourself. Right? There are many people in Tibet who have renounced the world in this way, and they possess an indescribable mental and physical satisfaction. The sum total of worldly pleasure gathered through the motive of self-love and the effort to satisfy that love is not comparable to a fraction of the higher happiness. See? If you put together, the sum total means if you put together all the worldly pleasures that you get, it may be through self-love, it may be effort to satisfy that love, but even if you put all these pleasures and so-called happiness put together, it's not comparable to a fraction of the higher happiness, because the higher happiness that you get is pure happiness. Pure happiness, right? Because the other pleasures and happiness that you get, today you have pleasure, but tomorrow the source of that pleasure may again disturb you. Right? If somebody gives you let us say $200, you feel quite happy, huh? But then unfortunately next time that same person might expect something from you, you see. This is not very pure. People who possess this happiness are also of the greatest benefit to others. See, when you are completely at peace with yourself, when you are really, really happy, then there will be genuine smile, then there will be genuine relaxation, readiness to talk to others, help others, all these things will be there. But if you yourself is unsettled, then the way you relate to others, try to help others, everything will be not healthy one. People who possess this happiness are also of the greatest benefit to others. Because happiness or peace that you enjoy are kind of infectious, you see. If I smile, it's very likely that you will also start smiling. If I get very angry, you will also get affected by that, you see. Kind of infectious, you see. People who possess this happiness also of the greatest benefit to others by virtue of their own inward state, which enables them to diagnose not only the true causes of the ills of humankind, but also provide the true remedies for them. However, such renunciation of the world is not possible for everybody. Not easy, because the sacrifices entailed are very great. What sort of dharma? What sort of religion can then be prescribed for people in ordinary walks of life? So if the genuine renunciation is very difficult, then what should they do? That's the question. So impermanent, immortal, worldly activities naturally should be ruled out. Immoral worldly activities naturally should be ruled out. So at least what we can do is stop immoral activities. These activities are never compatible with any religion. So we are not talking big, but simply immoral activities are not compatible with any religion. But morally justifiable activities such as helping to administer the government of a country, or indeed doing anything useful and productive, taking any steps towards promoting the pleasure and happiness of others, can certainly go together with the practice of Dharma. In India and Tibet, kings and ministers have promoted Dharma. Salvation can be achieved if one truly endeavors to find it merely by leading a household life. That's what we are discussing. By merely leading a household life, we are saying people who make no mental effort, even if they remain in mountain. Yeah, we have a saying, people who make no mental effort, even if they remain in mountain retreats, are like animals hibernating in the holes, only accumulating causes for a descent into hell. Right? Perhaps I may conclude with an old Tibetan story. Long ago there was, so this is a story I already told you. Long ago there was a famous Lama whose name was Dom Tamba. One day Dom saw a man walking around the stupa. He said, "It is good that you walk around the stupa." He said, "But wouldn't it be better to practice the religion?" "I had better read a holy book then," the man said to himself, and so he started a laborer's course of reading. One day Dom happened to meet him again. "Reading from a holy book is of course very good," Dom said, "but wouldn't it be better still if you practice religion?" And the man thought, "It seems even recitation is not good enough. How about meditating?" Not long after Dom saw him in meditation, he said, "I admit that meditation is good, but wouldn't it really be better if you practice religion?" The man was bewildered. "What do you mean by practicing religion?" He said. He asked, "Tell me how it is done." Then Dom Tamba said, "Turn your mind away from the forms of the worldly life." Dom told him, "Turn your mind towards religion." But what I explained earlier is same, but so basically, as I told you earlier, he said, give up clinging to this life and make your mind go to the Dharma. Okay? All right, so we read Three Refuges tomorrow.